I actually managed to get chatting to Morgan Freeman. He always kept a hot water bottle in him, so he did in his juke. I was like, well, to be honest, it's nothing to do with it. It's like, I'm just an actor. I've been trying to get you on the phone for months, but you won't take my call. And he burst out laughing. And he was like, all right, wee man, fair enough.
What would you do differently if you went back to college?
I would take it serious, to be honest. I mean, that would be a starting point.
All right, troops.
Johnny boy, it's great to be in the presence of a future star. How are you getting on, my man?
I'm good. I don't know about that, but thanks for having me on.
I appreciate you reaching out, because I'd seen some of the promo stuff for what we're going to be talking about, and I was like, hold on, he wants to come on my podcast.
I've actually.
Oh, nice one, man. What? Oh, well, I'm gonna end up having like an ego the size of Calcutta. But no, I appreciate you listening. That's made my night so far. I really appreciate it. But anyway, we're not here to inflate my ego. We're here to inflate your ego by talking about your origin story. Because if there's one thing we all have in common, it's an origins. So, John, for my followers, please tell us your origin story.
Well, it's a funny one actually. I kind of stumble into all these things really.
Right, we'll start with the basics. Where were you born?
Glasgow, Milton.
Ah, nice one, Milton. Nice one.
Aye. So I was there, and obviously I went to school at Churnside, but I went to school in Maryhill, went to school in North Kelvinside. And then because I never had drama, at school. My secondary school certainly never had drama as a class, so I didn't even know you could do it, to be honest.
Yeah.
And then, but I've always been a movie buff since I was a Wayne. Crazy into movies, and I used to go to the cinema every day. Well, not every day, sorry, like 3 or 4 times a week, you know.
I was going to say, like, did you go when you were just dogging school? Like, there's no drama class, so I'm going to make one.
Well, this was more so after I left secondary school. It was more when I was like 17, because the UGC had just been built. It's the cinema one now, but it was initially called the UGC Cinema.
Yeah.
I think it was the biggest cinema in Europe at the time when it was made. And you would be able to get the Cineworld card, the UGC card. It was a tenner a month, so I used to go 3-4 times a week, just see everything. Always kind of daydream about doing acting, and that's how I ended up getting into acting, because I joined an agency who got me a gig as an extra, the only extra gig I've ever did, and it was for a movie called Unleashed. I think it was called Danny the Dog at the time, and it had Jet Li, Morgan Freeman, Bob Hoskins, but it was all being made in Glasgow.
I don't know who it was that was telling me about that, actually. It was like a couple of weeks back, and someone was telling me because one of the shots was just at the Barrowlands that they were filming, and they basically just went down and chanced their arm to see if they could get a picture, and they got a picture with Jet Li, and I was like, you lucky fucker. So you were an extra on it, man. Nice one.
I was an extra on that. Jet Li and Morgan Freeman were there that day. I forget the lady actor that was in it, but anyway, I actually managed to get chatting to Morgan Freeman that day.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
the voice himself.
He always kept a hot water bottle in him, so he did in his juke. That's what he did. And I was just talking to him for a couple of minutes. I was like, oh, this is my first thing I've done, and I really want to get into acting. And he was like, oh, well, you really need to get an agent. I was like, oh, I've got something that does. He was like, no, like a kind of personal manager agent. So I remember I bought the book Contacts. I don't even know if that still goes around, but it was like a phone book for photographers, kind of like the industry, because I guess the internet wasn't as accessible as it is the now.
Yeah.
Then, there was this agent. What was his name? I'm sure his name was Michael something. And I kept pestering, phoning.
Yeah.
Every week, man, I'd get a phone, but I could never get past the reception, right? Months later, somebody showed us there was an open audition calls for a film being made in Glasgow, and a family member showed me the newspaper clipping,
Yeah.
So I had an idea. I was like, I'm gonna phone him. So I phoned up. I said, this is John from whatever the production company was. I says, can I speak to Michael?
Nice.
And then the receptionist said, oh, what's it regarding? And I said the name of the film. She's like, oh, hold on. So she's obviously phoned through, and he's like, oh, it must be I put him through. So he put it, and I get through. So I was,
Nice.
and I just started babbling for a minute or two. And he's like, John, sorry, I need. I was like, what's this got to do with? I was like, well, to be honest, it's nothing to do with it. It's like, I'm just an actor. I've been trying to get you on the phone for months, but you won't take my call. And he burst out laughing.
Nice one.
And he was like, all right, wee man, fair enough. And I was like, oh, well, he was like, where did you study? And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, where did you, no, where did you train? I said, well, what do you mean? He was like, where did you study? I was like, I don't know, you could study it.
Yeah.
And he's like, maybe you should go and study it first and keep me up to date. I was like, right, okay. I was like, well, where can I study it? So he's like, well, there's obviously the RSCMD that I knew about, but then he rounded off a few colleges, and one of them was Stowe College. And I was like,
Oh, nice.
I used to drive past, because Cadden's building used to have the big
Yeah.
thing. And I remember going in there and looking up the course, and it was acting and performance, and they were like, you need to perform 2 monologues. And I was like, all right, okay, what's a monologue? Like, well, it's a speech. And I was like, all
Yeah.
right, film. They're like, well, no, it needs to be from a play. So then I tried to find 2 monologues. And I remember the day, because I remember the day of, and I was going down to do my audition. My pal Richie phoned me, he's like, you nervous? I was like, nah, it's just like telling a story at a party, right? Wasn't phased by it at all, and I went in, and I'll never forget this. So it was 3 women. It was Mary, Brenda, and Emma. I'm sure her name was. Were all judging me, and I crumbled. Like,
Oh.
I forgot all the lines. I was trying, and I kept trying to restart. And I remember going, "Is it all right if I just tell you some jokes?" And they're all just looking at me like, "I okay?" And the only jokes I could think of were like football jokes. And I remember telling a football joke, like how a bus shelter's like, I know how a football manager's dog, it's like a bus shelter, like get up and look at their watches and all that. And I didn't even get like a sympathy laugh. It was just scared me out. And then I was like,
Oh
I'm sorry.
man.
And they were like, right, we don't think you're ready for this. Like, we'll put, and I ended up just on the waiting list for the NQ Theatre Arts, which was like the entry level. So I
Yeah.
didn't get in. And then it was the day before the course started. The lady Emma phoned me up. She was like, John, somebody's dropped out the course. You were the first person that popped in my head. There's a space. Do you want it? I was like, aye, of course. I'll take it. When does it start? She was like, you need to be down tomorrow. So it was the day before the course started. She was like, one condition. I was like, yeah, what's that? She was like, name me shite jokes. And that's how I get into acting.
Man, that's brilliant. Well, I actually did have a kind of similar story for when I went to college for my very first audition when I was 17. I went in, and I did all right in fairness, at least I thought I did. And they called me in at the end, and I was like, right, call me at the end, so something's no kosher. And they were like, well, you didn't get into the HNC. And I was like, all right, cool. Well, you got any feedback? And they were like, do you want us to be honest? And I went, well, you've already been brutally honest now. Well, let's keep going. And she went, your acting was crap, your movement was shit. I advise you don't come back. And then 1 week before the course was due to start, I got a phone call. We've had a dropout for the HNCs. You want on? And I went, stick up your arse. Then I went back later when I got a bit more experience. And I told the lecturers who were there at the time about it. And they were like, who was it that auditioned you? And I was like, I can't even remember the names. And they just went, well, whoever they were talking pish. And I wound up like acing it, like acing both years. I was like, okay.
Where was it? Where was it you studied?
Coatbridge. Coatbridge College, just before it became New College. So I went, did my HNC, and then never went back from HND. I was in a bit of a rough place at the time. And then I thought, right, I'm going back and I'm going to do it. And I'm going to finish it. And that was my main goal, to finish the course. Everybody else is like, I want to be famous, or I want to be on TV, or I want to do this. Like, one of them said they wanted to be a reality TV star, and I turned around and went, why the fuck are you in an acting performance course then? What? But I just want to finish the course. What? And the lecturer just went, well, that's a bit of a low bar. And I went, you know nothing about my life, mate. What? So zip it. What? And he burst out laughing. He was like, okay, I like you.
Oh, if only to go back. I mean,
yeah. What would you do differently if you went back to college?
I would take it serious, to be honest. I mean, that would be a starting point. I mean, because really, I didn't really know anything outside of Mountain, really. I mean, I obviously had friends in Maryhill, but that's really all I did was kind of go about the streets and drinking, and then I get into this course, and my world changed, but for the better. It's just a lot of fun partying and that, but yeah, I mean, it's a good time because you're guaranteed to get to do shows, and we did a lot of shows through our course, some really good ones as well.
What was do you remember what your HND show was? The final one?
Closer. It was.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was such a good play.
Brilliant play, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. So that was a really good play we got to do. Aye. Yeah. A lot of fun. I would do it again if I could.
So you managed to survive Stowe, and obviously like Stowe kind of plays into what we're going to be talking about with your upcoming series. So first of all, give the series the plug. Sell it, my friend.
All right. I'm never really good at selling these things, but so Dirty Water, it's a comedy. It's about cleaners that work for like a low rental cleaning company who generally get their contracts from the council, so they'll clean things like the high flats, the stairways and landings. And it's just about them kind of getting into sticky situations that will take more than a mop to clean up. Yeah, so it's not just kind of structured in the workplace. So the 3 episodes we've got coming out, the first episode is very much like a workplace episode. The second episode's all set in the pub. Like 90% of it. It's all like a funeral. And then the last episode is like a kind of plot-based episode. They find a dead body with a winning scratch card, and then the police get involved and they lose it, and then they're chasing the money, and it's kind of like a cause and effect.
Oh, nice.
Well,
because like I say, I've watched the trailer like about 4 or 5 times. What since you reached out? I mean, I'd seen it beforehand anyway, and then I was like, wait, this guy coming on, right? I got to check this out. And I was like, oh, this is brilliant. Like just the trailer I saw, funny as fuck, man. It looks fantastic. Like some of the cast that are in there look really strong as well. Like my wife's a cleaner or a domestic assistant because she works for the NHS and they give them the fucking fancy titles. But I told her about it and I was like, you'll need to watch this and take notes. And she was like, I'm gonna fucking slap you. I'm like, I'm giving you a compliment. You could be one of the cleaners. There you go. You could be like one of the, you know how they have like when you do like fight coordinations or whatever, they do something, they have someone that like makes sure they're doing like right practice. That's what she could be. Like one of the cleaners on call going, we don't use that chemical anymore, mate. But
this sponge is not industry standard.
It's the NHS. They have nothing fucking industry standard. Yeah. So how did it come about? Like the Dirty Water? Tell us about
it. So Bob and Leah, who are in the show, we all went to store together.
Yeah.
In fact, Bob was a year above me, and as soon as I seen him perform, we became friends just because we would walk the same way to college, and that's how we ended up becoming friends.
Yeah.
But I always wanted to work with him. I thought he was the best actor I'd ever seen. Anyway, so I ended up in film school. So once I left Stowe, I took a year out, travelled. And this is how I actually see it. I stumble into everything. So this is how I stumbled into it. Because in the second or HND year at course, let me say that again. On our HND year at Stowe, we had a module where we kind of had to write like a 20-minute show.
Yeah.
In my groups, and I was put with Hazel and Jane from my class, and so I ended up just really taking initiative, and I wrote the script for the 20-minute thing. And it went down an absolute storm. And after that, my lecturer was like, "Did you write that?" I was like, "Aye." And they were like, "You should start writing." And it kind of stuck in my head, but I never did any writing until about a year later when I was travelling, and I wrote a short film. And me and my friend Kev had knew a director, and we were close to making it happen. And it was like the week before, it just kind of fell through. I think the director got ill, if I remember right. So I was sitting, and I was living in London at this point, and I was trying to work out what to do. So I just typed in script submissions, and then that's the film schools come up. So I submitted it to a few film schools, and they all offered me a place. And then that's how I ended up going to film school for writing. And then really at the end of that course, they were saying, right, you know, obviously they were teaching us how to write films, and wrote a feature film as part of the course. But kind of my main mentor, if you will, Rob Ritchie, he was like, you really think about TV. TV's bread and butter. You know, films can take a long time to make and stuff like that. So he's like, I suggest you come up with a TV idea. And actually, Bob, who was in it, worked for a cleaning company in Glasgow, Past Cleaning. And this is where the concept came. So it was Bob initially that had the idea. And I was like, I could write something like this. So I think I wrote a TV treatment and a pilot episode when I was in film school.
Yeah.
And then obviously I'd moved back to Glasgow, and I was trying to work out what to do with us. And I didn't have any contacts at all. So it was actually a friend in work. I worked in Costco. And he recommended a networking thing called Right Camera Action.
Yeah.
Remember that? Did you ever go?
Yes.
All right.
Nah, well, I didn't. Well, I remember it, but I never got to go. I wasn't big enough. What I wasn't seen as any type of up and comer or a name. Not I'm bitter about it.
Well, you could have went. Anybody could have. But it was like it's just a once a month, and people would submit bits of writing. A director would get attached to it, and then on the night, actors would get picked, and they would rehearse it for an hour and then perform it.
Yeah.
You know, and you would get to see if it's working. So I'd submitted 2 scenes from the pilot episode, and they went down an absolute storm. And I knew in that moment, I was like, this will work as a play. So Joe, who plays Crawford, that's how I met him at Right Camera Action. I'd seen him perform the month before when I went just to observe. And I was like, oh, he's perfect for Crawford. And so the following month, I told the director, oh, there's this baldy guy. When he comes in, I'll point him out, get him. And yeah, we did that. And then I got talking to Joe. It turns out Joe was from Malton as well. So we kind of... And I said to him that night, I went, do you know, this will work as a play. I'm going to write it as a play. Will you read the script? And he told me, he was like, I was just like, aye, didn't think anything of it. But a month later, I'd wrote the play and sent him it. And he came back to me, and he's always just got it. And he was like, this is a fucking diamond. And that was the start of it. So yeah, I had George Crawford right away. I wanted Bob to play Bob. And then Leah. And that was kind of the start of the Dirty Water journey. When
because from like the stuff that you'd sent me as well, like you'd done the play, and then you were right going to try and turn it into something like, you know, filmed. It got to, like, you know, cans, stuff like that, and then like, how did it kind of go from, like, you know, being cans to getting into an actual STV going, okay, you're greenlit?
Well, no, we made it ourselves. So STV never made it. So because what had happened is,
like a good gravy, the plot thickens.
Aye. What had happened actually? So if I can go back a wee bit, we did the play, and then we went to the Fringe, and then we toured it for a few years, and it kind of, because it had always done well, I think we'd kind of garnished a wee bit of an audience and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the aim was always to get it in the big theatres, you know, because we were doing like 150 to 300 seaters.
Yeah.
And then Kings came and seen it, and they were like, "Oh no, we really like it. We'll take it and I'll give us a deal." But they wanted us to recast it, or recast some of it. And I asked us, "Is there somebody you don't like?" No, it's absolutely nothing to do with any of the actors. It's just, you know, you're going to go into a 1,700 seater per night. You're going to need a name, somebody we can advertise this way to help sell it.
Yeah.
But I mean, we'd been together 5 years, something like that at that
Yeah.
point. Cheers. I was like, I can't do that. I can't dump these people.
Yeah. Sticking to your
So
convictions, man. Like, I respect that. Because what I do, what 9 times out of 10 when I do that, it does shoot me in the foot. But at least I'm like, you know what? I've stood by it. Like if someone gives me the support to take a chance in
yeah.
the first place, I'm not going to chuck them when like the
Aye,
big
well,
wigs come
exactly.
calling. But well done, man.
It's not like the plays were funded, so we were generally just doing it in our own time, and
Yeah.
obviously we would get a bung after a
Yeah.
show because we'd get a kickback after ticket sales, and there would be
Mm.
something, but it wouldn't be much.
Yeah.
And then so I thought that was the end of it really. And then what had happened was it was a couple of years later, the BBC, I think, were on the hunt for a new show.
Mm.
I get recommended, and we ended up in some pitch meetings, and they were actually quite productive, because the show's changed a wee bit. When it was a play, it was just 4 guys, and it was actually
Mm.
BBC. Yes, well, what if we got a lady cleaner in there, a lassie cleaner?
Mm.
And right away, I was like, and you know, that's a good idea because that'll help with the dynamic, with jokes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they can't. They ideally wanted to set it in like Inverness or something like that. They didn't want to set it in Glasgow.
All right.
So we kind of seen it differently, and that never really evolved much past that. But I remember saying to Joe, I was like, I can see a gap in the market coming up because I think Scott Squad had been running quite a bit of time
Mm-hmm.
at that point. And other than that, there was only 2 doors down. I was like, I think
Aye.
there's space here for this. We might be coming into the right time to make this.
Mm.
So we managed to get a backer behind us, and we raised 90 grand, 100
Wow.
grand to make 3 episodes.
Well done, mate. What fucking thunderous applause for that one, man. Well done.
So we got the money together, and then obviously, well, I remember. Do you know what I remember? It was just before Christmas. We get the verbal okay, the handshake, right? Okay, we'll do this, and we're gonna get the money. I remember coming out to the pub that night with John. I was like, "We're going to get to do this. We're going to get to do it. Oh, why nothing can stop us?" And then 2 months later, COVID came
Oh,
and shut everything down. So
oh
that
my
put the
God.
kibosh on it all. But actually,
Yeah.
some things happen for a reason because when we come out the other side of it,
Mm.
that's when I met Ramo, who was my co-producer on it, and he was kind of the missing piece of the puzzle, really, for bringing all
Yeah.
this together. So yeah, then we produced the 3 episodes for the TV show. And then once we had it made, we're like, right, well, how the hell do we get it on the telly now?
Yeah.
So I'd been checking out TV festivals, and none of them were quite right. I didn't even know Cannes had it. Obviously, you know about the Cannes Film Festival. It's
Mm.
very famous. But MIPCOM I hadn't heard of. It's big in the TV world. It's one of the biggest festivals. And it was a producer I knew down in London that recommended it. And once I looked into it, I could see, oh no, this is a festival that actually connects you to distributors and platforms.
Wow.
It was obviously we had to submit it, and it was expensive
Yeah.
to go, but it was worth it. And it was
Mm.
through that we'd spoke to a number of different channels from different countries and at home, and STV. That's how we got in touch with STV. It was
Right.
through the
There we
film
go.
festival, but they'd actually reached out because, well, I'd reached out to them on the build up to the on the build up to the festival to meet them there, but they'd actually not come in, and we'd met them before actually gone, and we started the talks from there.
Yeah.
So it was pretty much through getting accepted into the Cannes TV Festival, we managed to get access to STV, which is right in our door. It seems a bit mad, but
yeah, it's quite interesting. Like just hearing the story of how you went about it. Well, I'm in absolute awe of you, man. Well, it's absolutely brilliant. Well, you didn't let anything stop you. You had a goal, you knew what you wanted to get done, and you did it. Well, there's loads of people that would have been like, okay, how do we film this? Would have stopped, or right, how do we get it on the telly? And then would have been like, oh, look, not sure, stop. Wow, but you kept going, you kept plugging, wow, and you've built a good thing, wow, and and again, you were right. There's a gap for it. Wow, Scottish content is brilliant, and it's always really underrated. Wow, and it deserves to have a platform and a voice. So I'm really, really chuffed for you, mate.
Oh, thanks, man. Well, that's how we because when we came back from MIPCOM, we had some other offers, but the best bit of advice I got out there was, focus on, because we all have meetings with sales agents and channels for different countries, and it was a distributor. She actually distributes reality TV, but she gave us a lot. She was really nice. Karen. What's her production? Anyway, she was like, focus at home first, get your audience at home. I was like, get that settled, then you can work on going elsewhere. And so I'd said to Joe, I was like, do you know what? I was like, people watch STV, and there's a lot of people watch it,
Oh, aye.
They want to watch Scottish content, so people watch BBC Scotland and STV, they want to watch Scottish content. So that's why I was like, I think STV is the right place for this to try and launch it. So hopefully we connect with an audience and we can get it out there enough, and it leads on to more episodes.
Yeah, well, I hope so, man. Because that's what we really need. What is like some more like homegrown stuff, and it is so weird because like in TV, it's like build your audience at home first and then take it further. See, like in this side with the podcast and stuff, it's very unlikely that you're going to build your audience at home.
Really?
It's like you're more likely to build your audience abroad, and it's like it's the reverse. It's like if you can build your audience abroad, then people take you seriously. And I was like, all right, because anytime I was looking at my analytics, it was like, right, not really much in the UK, and they're like, Andrew, you're in Vietnam, you're in Russia, you're in the US, you're in Canada. They're your big markets. You can now see you're an international brand, and I'm like, I'm just a wee fat fuck for Airdrie. What's the deal, man? So it's quite interesting hearing like the different dynamics between like online media and the quote unquote real media. But it doesn't stop me wanting to obviously push Scottish content, because that's the whole point, like to promote people and help people, and that's what I'm really loving about like your stuff. Again, like it's just the story behind it, like the real people behind it are what counts at the end of the day.
It's been a journey. It has been a journey, and myself, Joe, Leah, and Bob, man, we've been there for day dot. Aye.
Yeah. So after you do the 3 episodes, like kind of what would be the next step, or are you just going to enjoy the moment while you can?
No, I don't know. I find it hard to kind of sit and enjoy the moment, because really, although I totally understand, people say it's a big achievement, and it is, and I get that.
Aye.
But really, this is the final hurdle coming up. Really, the big achievement is if it does well and we get commissioned to season 2, and it's the start of something much bigger. So I'm trying to enjoy it. The last, we're now coming into a wee bit of the fun part, because we're getting to promote it and getting to come like you, and then D-Day is coming up soon, 1st of March.
I know. What? Yeah, so when this episode drops, it will be like the premiere the following night. At that point, it will be like, you breaking it? You breaking it? It must be breaking it. No, he's not breaking it. He can't be breaking it. He's breaking it. Did you ever think about like for the premiere, and this is just me like kind of going balls to the wall with it, because you go big or go home. Did you ever think about, because where you started was going to the cinema, like the Cineworld and stuff? Did you ever think, why don't we put the first episode on in there and hire it out and make it a ticketed event?
Because I only want to do a ticketed event, but we did do a big screening in August, because we knew we had to do something, and so I'd looked at the UGC cinema, but part of it is trying to arrange a place, and we have a close friend that used to own the Onmore. I think it's been sold now. On Beatty through George, and so I ended up hiring the Grosvenor.
Oh, nice.
We had a nice big event there, and then Colin had gave us the downstairs at the Onmore and set it up for a big night, and we had like a free bar, and so we had a wild blowout. So we did for that. And the director Charlie, who's done an amazing job on it, he's just organising another wee screening just before the release. So we're going to have another wee screening in the GFT just before it, but it'll be a kind of smaller gathering. But
that's still awesome though, man. Like saying, like, where did you do your premieres for it? Yeah, the Ormore, the GFT. Brilliant, man. But I'm so chuffed for you, mate. Like you're such a sound guy, like, and like you're just like, and I was really touched that you reached out to come on the podcast. What? So thank you so much, first of all. What? And as we are starting to come up in time, and it is a mental health podcast, I'll ask you the final question to ask all my guests. If you give one piece of advice to anyone that's struggling with mental health issues at this point in time, what would that piece of advice be, and why?
I would, because I've had some struggles myself very recently. And my biggest problem is talking to people. And I don't know if this is probably the common thread you'll get is opening up to somebody. I remember Joe come to speak to me privately. He's like, "You all right?" I was like, "Aye, aye." And he's like, "No, John, you all right?" I could see I was struggling a bit. And he was like, "If you can't talk to me, you need to talk to somebody." And after a bit of time, I've been going to therapy and that's kind of really helped me. And that like I think I had to kind of get close to breaking point before I admitted that or big enough to like realize, oh fuck, you need to try and deal with this. And I have, I know it's easy saying that because I have a big family, a big circle of really good friends, and I have a lot of people I could go and open up to, and I don't, and I couldn't. So people, I guess everybody's a bit different in how they would approach it, but I get, I would, for me anyway, the first step is speaking to somebody. If it's a friend, and if it's not a friend, even if it's having to be a stranger, but it is the start, of work it out and tackle it.
Yeah. And when you're saying that, like, it might be what the answer you hear all the time, it's because it is the first step. Everybody says, like, you've got to talk to someone about it. If you can't talk to your family or your friends because maybe they're too close, talk to somebody, just like one of your like quote unquote friends, like the ones that you see every now and then, but not so much. And then if that's not helping, like, there's no harm going to counseling, there's no harm in going to therapy. Like, I mean, I've been in it, excuse me, I've been in and out of therapy like a fucking yo-yo, man. Like, it's because what I always say that people, I was like, you guys hop on the mental health train, we get you to the stop to get you off and better. I drive the fucker on a return trip 24/7. So it was why I wanted to do this, to prove we all go through it. It's like mental health, there's always positives and negatives, but if you're leaning more to the positive than the negative, it's a good day.
Well, that's the hang in it, because it's never really a straight line in the sense. So obviously, I mean, sometimes you crash down and you feel really like shit. And then it's up in a wave, you know what I mean? Then you feel better, and then you feel better, like, right, no, and that's how I kind of get in the habit, you know what I mean? Because I'd know when I was kind of right down, I'd like, just fucking soldier on, because I know I'll get past this bit and I'll go up, but it's not healthy. Eventually all catches up on you.
Yeah.
So I know that's how sometimes, well, at least I thought, I was like, well, sometimes I think, oh, right, I need to speak to somebody, I need to get help. And then I'd keep myself busy or get my head into a project or something, and I would feel through that, and then I think, no, I'm all right, and it kind of goes like waves. So
I know, and I get what you mean, man. Sometimes if I'm like, oh, well, I'm just no feeling today, I'm like, I need to get into a project. I'm like, right, I need to do some editing on a podcast, or I need to, like, maybe arrange a consultation with a client or whatever like that, just so it's something that they're like, right, you need to rest. I'm like, no, I need this for the boost to make me feel confident again, to make me feel like I know what I'm talking about, and I'm no just a dafty, kind of thing. And it makes me feel better. So I totally understand it, man. And well, first of all, I'm sorry to hear that you were having struggles, but I'm glad to see that the smiles on your face. You've got so much to look forward to. Like, I will definitely be tuning in. So drop the date again. Drop the time. I know it's all will also be available on STV Player. I will be rewatching it on that as well. So fire away.
Just keep going a loop. No, it'll be on the STV Player. So anybody can stream it at any time. If I could get a wee social media plug, or
Of course.
you'll be able to see the trailer or keep up to date with us. We've got Twitter, it's at Dirty Water Show, and Facebook, we're at Dirty Water Official, and Instagram, it's just I Know a Guy Productions. So yeah, and hopefully it's just the start of another journey, another chapter.
I'm pretty confident that it's going to be like the start of big things for you. For my audience, all the links will be in the description below in this video. Please check it out. Watch the trailer because it sets up what you're going into, and it's going to be a wild ride. I'm psyched for it. I'm really looking forward to it, and you should be too. John, thank you so much for coming on, mate. But I really appreciate it. You've been an absolute blast.
No, it's been fun. Thanks for having us on.
You're very welcome. Until next time, my faithful followers.
Well, yeah, I just want to say to you for the great work you're doing on the show.
Thank you very much, man. I really appreciate it. As long as I can get to help people, that's the main thing. But until next time, my faithful followers, I've been Andrew Durnan. This has been John Stewart. Please check out Dirty Water when it comes out. 1st of March, STV Player. Like I said, all the socials will be in the description below. Until next time, take care. Stay safe. Bye-bye.